Okay, now we are going to create a new document according to our project or assignment specifications. So you can just follow along with what I'm doing on the screen and or look at your assignment 1 instructions. So click on the Create New button. And we're not going to use any of the presets that are stored along the top edge of the new document window. We're just going to type stuff in. So off to the right under Preset Details, so we're not going to use that preset. So where it says Entitled 1, type Assignment 1. And then if yours defaulted to width of 51p0, height of 66p0, you can leave those there, and if you don't see that, then put in 51p0, 66p0. And that would automatically select the portrait orientation, meaning taller than wider. For units, we want picas, which it defaulted to for me. For number of pages, set that, instead of 1, set that to 8. And then make sure facing pages is checked. And this is not something you would normally do, but for the purpose of our assignments, I'm going to have you make the starting page number 2 instead of 1. And then you might need to scroll a little bit to see columns and margins. For number of columns, increase that to 3. For the column gutter, we want 1p0, so mine defaulted to that, so I'm going to leave that alone. For the 4 margins, meaning top, bottom, inside, and outside, we're going to put in different values for all of them. So if this link icon is active, click it so that it looks like a broken link, so that we're not linking the 4 values that we see here. And for top, we want 7p0, and it might be faster to just select 3p0 and type in 7, the letter P, and the number 0, instead of using the up-down, because that'd be a lot of clicking. So for top, we want 7p0. For bottom, we want 5p0. For inside, we want 2p0. Oops. Come on. 2p0. And for outside, we want 4p0. Did that work? We're all good? We all have those margins values in there? Great. Now you can ignore what the rest of the document says and then click Create. And then you should have something that looks like this. Does everybody have a document that looks like this? Okay, and just to make sure that our screens all look the same, look in the upper right corner of your InDesign window, and right here, these are the different workspaces. So workspaces are collections of panels, and you can switch between workspaces depending on the kind of work that you are doing in InDesign. So I'll make sure that we're on the Essentials workspace. So if yours doesn't already say Essentials, then drop this menu down and switch to it. We good? We're on the Essentials workspace? Okay, great. Okay, under other requirements, our instructions say that on the master pages, at a minimum, we're going to put the current page number and any other repeating elements. And if you look at, well, I didn't have you download the example layout, but if you just follow along with me, then you'll have the right stuff in the right spot. So we go to master pages by, if your pages panel isn't open, you just click here to pop it open. Master pages are always above this thin gray line. Document pages are below the thin gray line. And there's already 8 pages in it because we specified that in the setup. So to go to master pages, double click where it says A master, and out in your document area it won't look any different because there's nothing in the document and the master pages look just like the document pages. But make sure that you go to A master before we do anything else. So we're going to add the repeating elements, which are, you know what, I can really quickly open up that so you can, the example layout, so you can see what it looks like. So we're going to add repeating elements. This is the first spread, and if you look at the stuff at the top right here, the page number, these horizontal rules, this type right here, tips in a box with a horizontal rule, another short horizontal rule, page number, some type, and these 2 rules at the bottom. If you look at those things, I'm going to flip to the next spread. Those elements repeat. And so we're going to add all those things to the master pages. Okay, so I'm going back to InDesign. We're on our A master. Let's start with that line, that horizontal line. So in your tools panel, get your line tool by just clicking on it, and it should default to a fill of none. You see up here, fill of none, stroke color is black, stroke weight of 1 point. And then draw a line. So you click to start drawing the line and you pull in the direction you want the line. But to prevent the line from being skewed a little bit, hold down the Shift key. And then draw the line so it's the same width as those margins. And if you don't get it exactly precisely that width, you can adjust that later. And now we need to make the line a little bit thicker. So I'm gonna go check our example layout, and yeah, it's a little thicker. It looks a little thicker than what we have. So with the line still selected, up in your control panel, increase the stroke weight to 3 points. And then I just happen to know that the horizontal or the vertical position of that line is, I got pretty close. Mine is at 3p almost 7. It's actually 3p 10. So that'll change where it is vertically. So 3p 10. So are we all here? We have a horizontal line, 3 points in weight, and vertically positioned at 3p 10. Okay. So now we get to draw another little line. So not right on top of the edge of that first line, but leave a little bit of a gap and draw a line to the edge of the page. And don't forget about the Shift key to make it perfectly horizontal, and increase the stroke weight to 3, and then the Smart Guide's activated when I did that, and it snapped it to that 3p 10 vertical position, but if yours didn't, then you can just enter it in right there. We're good? Okay, now we can add the page numbers. So get your type tool, which is actually right above the line tool. And you don't have to do this, but I always get into it's not a bad idea to get into the habit of deselecting things if you're going to move on and do something new. So just click on this gray area, which is called the pasteboard, and you'll deselect that line. And if you had anything else selected, it would have been deselected. So right above this shorter line, draw a text box about that big. And it doesn't have to touch the line. Mine just happened to snap to that line because of the smart guides. And once you draw the text box, you'll get a blinking cursor inside. And we're not going to type a page number. We're going to use a special character. And InDesign has several of them that kind of do things for you automatically, and they're great time savers. So with the blinking cursor in that text box, go into your type menu and come almost to the bottom of the menu where it says Insert Special Character, and then the second submenu where it says Markers, select Current Page Number. So type menu, Insert Special Character, Markers, Current Page Number. And then when you click and let go, you should see a little tiny A in that text box. And that might be confusing to you, well, because it's supposed to be a page number. But we're on the A master, so that's why it's an A. If we were to go out to our document pages, like if we were to go to page 2, it would be a 2. On page 4, it would be a 4, and so on and so on and so on. So that is much more efficient than going to each and every page in the document and typing in the actual page number. And then if you reorder pages, then the auto page numbers renumber themselves. It's pretty handy. But other than it being an automatic page number, it's still a piece of typography. So anything that you can do to typography, you can do to these automatic page numbers. So we actually want the page number to be aligned to the right edge of this line. So select that type, and then in your control bar at the top, over here, like just beyond halfway along the control bar, you see the alignment buttons. So click this second one that says align, or no, click the third one that says align right. And so I use align right because of where I drew that text box. Okay, and then we can see from our example layout, if I can switch to it, it is in a sans serif typeface, specifically Helvetica New, that we downloaded and installed. So let's do that. So in your font menu, if you just click, it'll select whatever font is being used right now. And you could pop it open using this and scrolling, but I think this is faster. So start with Minion Pro selected, type over it, HELVET, and that should be enough it filters the list to anything that starts with HELVET. And you'll see there's a lot of different versions of Helvetica, and this is where you need to pay attention. All these Helveticas in the top of the list, at least on my computer, these are all one version of Helvetica, Helvetica New. But then starting about here, we see Helvetica New LT Standard. That's the one we installed. And this O means it's an OpenType format, and OpenType is cross-platform. TrueType, sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. So we're going to make sure you're using Helvetica New LT Standard, and then the specific variation of it is actually where is it? This one, Helvetica New LT Standard 55 Roman. So select that one. It might have defaulted to that one if we'd just chosen Helvetica New LT Standard. And then we're going to change the size of it. Whatever size it happens to be, make it 9 point. And for now, we're just going to go with the automatic amount of leading, so we don't have to change that. Okay, you should still have your type tool, and you need to draw another text box. So draw a text box like this. So aligned with the left edge of that longer line and about the width of the first column. And hit the caps lock key on your keyboard and type in design / which is next to the right shift key, magazine. And then we're going to do, in our example layout, it might look like a hyphen, but it's actually a longer dash called an N dash. And the way you make an N dash in InDesign, or any Adobe program, is you hold down the Option key and type hyphen. And hyphen is right next to the 0. And then type fall, well, how about winter, since it's winter? Winter space 2017. And now I didn't draw my text box wide enough, which is why we can't see 2017 on mine, and that's what this red symbol means. So I need to fix that. So I'm going to switch to my selection tool, and I'm going to click and drag that. And you have to click and drag kind of quickly, otherwise you'll thread your text box, which you don't need to do. So if that happened to you as well, then do what I just did to fix that. Are we all here now? Yeah? Okay. So we need to make some more changes to the typography. Instead of switching back to the type tool from the selection tool, you can double click and you'll automatically switch to the type tool and go right into the text box. And then I'm going to select this type, and we need to, from the example layout, I can tell that we used Helvetica Ultralight Condensed. So up here, click once and it selects Minion Pro, and we're going to type HELVET, and we want Ultralight Condensed. So it's this one right here. It's number 27. The Helvetica family, it numbers all the different font variations. So we want that one. And I just happen to know that the point size is 11. So I'm going to decrease mine by 1 so that it's 11. And we'll just stick with the automatic letting. Now those are a little bit higher up than they are in our layout, and I'll let you, after I'm done helping you set up your document, I'll let you fine-tune those adjustments, but that's good enough for now. So let's move on over to the type that's over here. So let's go look at our layout, and it's in some version of Helvetica Bold, and it's magenta. So I'm going to go back to InDesign. I'm going to draw a box about this big, and we're going to type in, and hit if caps lock is still on, turn it off so that you can type in points and a plus sign and the word symmetry. Points and symmetry. Points plus symmetry. And we need to change the typeface and the point size. And so far we've been just dragging over the text to select it. If you're going to change everything in the text box, make it all the same, you could do a Command A to select it all, and that way you know for sure you got it all. So once you have all the text selected, over in your font menu, HELVET, and then we want to make it Helvetica New LT Standard number 95, which is almost at the bottom of this group of Helvetica. So it's Helvetica New LT Standard Black, 95 black. And then I just happen to know that the point size is 18. Let's see if that's in our drop down. Oh, it is. So 18 points. And if you didn't make your text box wide enough or tall enough, then you can just grab the selection tool to fix it. So if your text box looks like this, then you just have to drag the middle handle down. Or if you had one of these things happen, then you can drag the text box out that way. Okay, and so I remember from our example layout that this type here is aligned with the right edge of that rule line. Rule is another way of saying line. So I double click to go into that text box, and then I go to my alignment buttons and I click right align. We good? We all here? Okay, so we want to change the color of the text, so let's use our new favorite keyboard shortcut, Command A for select all. And this is where you can change the fill color and the stroke color of anything, but since we have some types selected, that's why it's a T. So I just happen to know that the color is magenta, which is one of the default colors in the color swatches. So if you click this arrow right here, you pop open the list of swatches and click on this one that looks pink. It's actually called magenta. And then if you just click somewhere else on not another button, but then you'll close that menu. And then if I click on an empty area, don't click and drop, just click, you'll deselect that type and get out of that text box. So far so good? Okay, let's work on, well, how do we want to do this? We can try something kind of advanced here. Not too advanced. Okay, a lot of this stuff that we just made is the same on the other side of the page. And we can speed up our workflow by copying it. So get your selection tool and then click and drag. Start well outside and away from everything and click and drag a selection over all that stuff that we just put at the top of the page so that it's all selected. And then hold down the Option key, which is in between Control and Command, and then click and drag to the right because we want to copy it all to the right side. And you can see on my screen that those green lines are showing up. Those are smart guides that are saying, hey, I'm going to help you align stuff to the other, to whatever you're copying or whatever's near it. So move it over until it's on the right side of the page, like that. And then I realized that didn't save us a whole lot of time because it's pretty different. The right side's pretty different than the left side. And let's see if we can still salvage it. So did that work? Yeah. Everyone here? So on the right side, we don't need this points and symmetry, so just click it once and then hit the delete key. And then for these lines here, it's actually a mirror of what's on the left side. So where this gap occurs, it needs to be on the outside. So maybe just watch me and then you do this. I'm going to select just those two lines by, you know what, I'm just going to click on one line and then I'm going to shift click on the other one so I have just those two lines selected. And then we're going to flip it, but first we need to check what is known as the reference point. The default for the reference point is upper left corner, and if we were to click the flip button, this stuff would flip back to the left side, but we want to flip it right in the center of those two lines. So click this center reference point, and then click this button here, which is flip horizontal, and your page should look like that. Okay, and it's not in the right position, so drag both of those lines to the right, and you can hold down the shift key to constrain the movement to exactly horizontal and drag it to the right till the short line touches the right edge of the page. And then we need to move this text box right here that says Design Magazine Winter 2017 to align with the right edge of this rule. So start dragging it to the right, and you can either use those smart guides to help you align it to keep it perfectly horizontal, and you'll get a smart guide when it aligns with the right edge there. But then we actually need to change the text to be right aligned. So I'm going to double click to go into my text box. And then over here with my alignment buttons, I'm going to click on Align Right. And then I can see from our example file that it says designmag.com. So I'm going to hit caps lock again after double clicking and going into the text box and selecting all the type and just type right over it. So designmag.com. Does that work? We good? Can I move on? Okay. Another one of my favorite keyboard shortcuts, if I'm switching back and forth between my type tool and the selection tool, because I'm changing some type or adding type, but then I want to move something with the selection tool, I like to press the escape key, which is in the upper left of your keyboard. So press that, and it gets you out of the text box, switches to your selection tool, and selects the text box you were just in. Actually, we don't need to do anything else to this text box, but the page number, we need to move that to be above this short line. So click and drag to the right, use the smart guides to help you align the box, and then let go when it's in the right spot. And then we actually need to left align that page number. So I'm going to double click to go into the box, and you actually don't have to select the type to change its alignment. And then I'm going to click on left align so that it aligns right there to the left edge of that short horizontal rule. Does that work? Okay. I'm going to flip back to our example layout and see if there's anything else that we need to add to the master pages. And I noticed that the word tips, that appears, I'm going to flip forward, that appears on both spreads in the exact same spot, and then also these lines down at the bottom. Okay, so let's take care of the lines at the bottom first. And we don't have to draw them from scratch because we already have some horizontal lines that we can use. So I'm going to get my selection tool. I'm going to click on the line on the left page. I'm going to hold down the shift key and click on the line on the right page. Then I'm going to let go of the shift key. I'm going to hold down the option key, which is in between control and command, and then drag down until I get, maybe about here. So go just below the bottom margin, and then let go of the mouse, and then let go of the option key. Did that work? Okay. Now let's take care of that thing that says, let me just take a look again. So hanging off of this line on the right page, we have the word tips, and it's white reversed out of a black background. So let's do that. So if you haven't been doing this yet, you might want to zoom in. So the zoom tool is near the bottom of your tool panel, and it's just below the hand or the hand move tool. Actually, it's called the hand tool. So I'm going to get the zoom tool and zoom in right here. Then I'm going to get my type tool and I am going to draw a box. So kind of starting near the tip of that line, draw a box that's about that tall and about 1/3 of the width of the first column. And then we'll get our old familiar friend, the blinking cursor, and type the word tips in all caps. So hit caps lock if you need to, and type the word tips. Then select it and change the font to Helvetica New LT Standard number 75, which is the bold weight. So that one right there, Helvetica New LT Standard 75 bold. That's the one we want. And then we want to change the point size. Oop. Come on. Hold one moment, please. I want to change the point size. What did I do there? I want to change the point size to 13. So mine is set at 12, so I'm going to change it to 13. And we want it to be centered within its text frame, so click the centered alignment button. And if I go back and look at our example layout, you can see how it's not just centered left to right, but it's centered top to bottom within that text frame. So the way to do that is, it doesn't matter, you can leave the type selected or you can just be in the text box like this. Either way, it doesn't matter. To center things vertically in a text box, you need to modify the text frame options. So go into the object menu, not the type menu, but the object menu, and choose text frame options. The keyboard shortcut is Command B, and I use that quite a bit. So it doesn't hurt to memorize keyboard shortcuts for things that you do quite often. So with text frame options open, another little thing I like to do is if there's a dialog box that has a preview feature, I always like to turn it on so I can see what I'm doing before I click OK and commit to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some inset spacing only to the top. So if the link icon is active, click it to deactivate so it looks like a broken or slashed link. And for top inset, I happen to know that I used 7 points of it. So I'm going to increase it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then once you've done that, click OK. If your text box was too short, like if your text box now looks like that, that means it was too short for that 7 points. So just drag that, hit the escape key to get out of the text box, switch to the selection tool, then you can move that middle handle down. And I drew my text box way too short because I want even space above and below it. So I need to make mine a little bit taller so that there's even space from the top edge and from the bottom edge. So if you need to make that adjustment, go ahead and do that. Are we all right here? Yours looks like that? Okay. Then we need to make the background of the text frame black. So make sure you have your selection tool and you have the text frame selected. You don't want your type tool right now and have the type selected. You want selection tool, text frame selected. And then up in the control panel, next to the fill attribute, pop open the list of swatches and click on black. So something that takes a little getting used to in InDesign is when you're working with typography is you can change the attributes of the type and you can change the attributes of the frame that's holding the type. So right now we're modifying the frame that's holding the type. If you take a close look at our swatches panel, you can see that there's this symbol which is active, meaning that the formatting affects the container. If we were to click this button, the formatting affects, the tooltip is wrong. Okay, formatting affects the text. So go ahead and click on that so that we switch to modifying the type, and click on the swatch that says paper. And then that's how you'll make your type white. So in InDesign, there is no swatch that says white. The swatch is called paper, meaning no ink, the color of the paper is going to show through. So are we all here? Okay, we've made some steady progress here. I'm going to click on the title area to get out of that swatches menu. I'm going to scroll up a little bit and click on my, I'm going to click on my pasteboard to make sure I have everything deselected, just so I don't, like if I walk away from my computer and come back and lean on the keyboard or something, I don't mess something up. And I'm going to go and look at our example layout, and there are no other elements that repeat, so I believe we are done with that master page. So if you did zoom in so that you could work on this text frame right here, and you want to zoom out quickly without using the zoom tool, Command Option 0, not the letter O, but Command Option 0 is the shortcut for Fit Spread to Window. So go ahead and do that. Okay, so does everybody's A master look like this? We're kind of close. So after this demo is over, you can go and look at the example layout and make any further adjustments that you need to. But now we are going to, my next demonstration, I'll show you how to add another master page.